Hello, hello. How are you? Not too much of the steering wheel here. Um, so I've been seeing a lot of posts that women kind of jump in on and post on their timeline, and the root is something that a man had done to them, or that men aren't good enough, or the men aren't doing their work, or doing all these things. And I'd really like to call out to the forefront. This isn't from a wound. This isn't from me trying to trash anybody. I'm trying to get the spears put down and to start to live with some balance and some self accountability. Um, we're sitting in a time in the world where things are pretty messed up. There's been a massive inversion and confusion and matrix violations and other things that have turned men against women. And we all admit it, but yet there's these controlling influences, certain wounds that are constantly woven into the diatribe, or whatever you want to call it, that everybody's talking about and everybody's following through on, and all this kind of stuff that basically says that men have done something to women, that we're all the patriarchy, we're all our father's sins, we're all kings or conquerors that have harmed women in some way, and that in some way we need to be responsible for that. And I just want to call that into the light, because yes, I know there's a lot of wounds, and yes, there's a lot of stuff that's happened to women, and not yet mentioned is there's a lot of stuff that happens to men. My generation, I'm 52 years old. A lot of us grew up with a father that worked full time. We didn't really have a father figure. It was the guy that came home and he was exhausted and tried his best to teach us a few things in the evenings and on the weekends. But our mothers raised us in almost all situations. And whatever wounds and stuff that have been propagated on our mothers came down upon us. And if anything, I think my generation, despite a few exceptions, was a very compliant generation that learned to kowtow to women, or let their needs and desires be ahead of ours. We became very feminized because we were raised by our mothers and didn't have a lot of those other influences. And yet we got the brunt of a whole bunch of control issues and other things that came out in their behaviors, in ways of dumbing down our emotions, in getting us to stop from being emotional because they couldn't handle it, etc. I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying women really can't see the men that are underneath right now. The women are in this social media derived thing saying men are bad, we're over sexualized, we're too sexual, we're too a whole bunch of things, but there's nobody trying to understand us or trying to listen to our side, or to help move us through this, or realizing that men don't want to be told what's wrong with them. We want to hear what we're doing that's causing you impact, or we want to hear your share of what you're feeling and how it feels, and maybe how you haven't been heard, or whatever, rather than just putting us in a dumpster and saying we're all a bunch of over sexualized men or people that aren't listening, or whatever. We want to be open and be vulnerable in our heart and have direct and open, vulnerable communications about what isn't working, what you'd like to see better. I don't want to be the beholder of a patriarchal wound that everybody has that I can't ever fix and you can't fix either. But all this continued process of downplaying men and telling them that they're not doing good enough without any actual positive feedback is a pile of shit, as far as I'm concerned. And women need to become self-responsible just as men are. If anything, I think we're more responsible. We listen to everything that women have said, and they will smash us and trash us and whatever they need sometimes to be able to control us and to keep us small so that they somehow feel safe. And this is a truth. And yeah, it may hurt and it may make people feel uncomfortable, but I see it over and over and over again where my point doesn't really matter. I just got to conform. I got to make you feel safe and happy, deal with all the shit, deal with all your exes, deal with all the shit that's projected on us. I don't even know where to begin anymore. And you may too. But if we're not talking and all we're doing is just projecting and throwing shit over the wall about how men got to do their work, the thing I can't stand, there's all these women doing this women work in closed groups that won't have any perspective of men in. Are you actually growing? Or are you just propagating a bunch of stereotypes and traumas? And this is informed. I'm not just making a reference. I've met so many women that feel they're leading women, and they're leading from their sexual wounds, their sexual traumas, their dysfunction, their religious beliefs, their other stuff, and then they're running around saying that they're meeting with goddesses and doing all this stuff. If this work does not involve both polarities, we're not getting anywhere. We're just dividing the masses, and women claim that men can't understand. Well, is it ever going to change if we don't allow this cross-pollination, this cross-population of issues? I'm not getting angry at the issues. I'm getting angry at the bullshit that people will hide behind and not have a conversation. It's hard to have a conversation with a woman because I don't know what the hell she wants. She won't even tell me what she wants. She expects me to read it and other things. And we're confused. We're really confused. And the new masculine, the guys like me are ready to hold space for anything. We're ready to change. We're ready to conform, but we can't give ourselves up. We spend our whole lives conforming and trying to please you and make you happy and fit your idea of safe. And all we met was with the man part of the woman, the masculinized piece, and we had a sword fight. And we almost always lost. So we all have our part. I'm not blaming. I'm just tired and worried about the lack of accountability that's in all this shit that keeps going down. Nobody wants to take responsibility for their part, and women are just as much to blame as men. And you can come and sing at me and whine at me and tell me that that's not true. Well, you're part of the problem. Because if we're not taking self-responsibility, we can get nowhere with anyone. So please, 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 go look underneath some of the shit that you keep posting. Look underneath the wounds. If it's got a whole bunch of wound and suffering and pain in it, it's not serving anyone. Start to be part of the answer. Speak from your experience. Speak of how it made you feel. Speak how you see men's perspectives should be different. Speak and call us out. Call us to attention so that we can be accountable and be in integrity and serve women, not have to guess, not have to be beaten down for because we didn't guess right and we're reading it wrong. And why aren't you reading my mind? And why aren't you changing? And why aren't you doing your work? And blah. It's disgusting after a while. Do you hear men saying that? We're doing our best here. Where's the woman's part? And I'm not running away. I'm not hiding. I'm just speaking for my truth and holding women accountable and self-responsible. What do you want? Talk to us in the way that you want us to be, and we'll do it. But do it from an accountable way and speak to us in truth so that we can work through things. We are fixers. We are changers. If you want to sit there and complain we're not meeting you, come have a discussion with us. Explain it to us. Don't put it in just big verbal words and with all this emotion and anger. It scares us away. We don't want to deal with that. We've had that our whole life. A lot of times that was our mother. I love you. I so want things to be better between men and women. so we can have some relationships, we can have better, we can love each other. But until somebody puts their sword down and steps out of their masculine a little bit and allows men to step out of their feminine a little bit so that they can serve their polarity and you can serve yours, nothing's going to change. Maybe this was too direct. Maybe this triggers the fuck out of you. I'm sorry. But it's from love. It's what I see. Speak to us about what you see. Put a live on your thing. Copy me in. I'll listen. Because nobody's talking about it. All they're doing is blaming. Complaining about how men were. I watched a post today about some woman and some man had demanded sex and he was a leader of a women's community and all she could do is complain about it and all these women were lining up to say, oh yeah, that's the same and I agree. What would you prefer? How would you like that different? How do you want that policed? How do you want that reported? How do you want the community to address that? Don't complain about it 5 years after and then blame all men. It's a nightmare. Nobody wins. I want us all to win. So let's have the hard conversations. Let's blow this shit out the door and let's move forward in communication of what we want, what we need, letting go of the old and start asking for better. And we're all going to win. Thank you for listening. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks, David.